Let's see if I remember how to do this. All right. Deep breath, Nick. Deep breath. How you do that, Dale? Yeah. How you do that, Dale? And I ain't mad about it. No. I am your man's Nic Rattlehead. And behind this camera, somewhere out in California, hopefully staying safe, watching over your boy, is my buddy, my pal, my compadre, my amigo. My man's with the master plan, 100 grand, only you, me, and God knows how much I love this guy, man. Tell him one more time, what's your name? Matt the Graff. Matt the Graff. What up, gangster? And we are Aftershock Reviews, here to give you the best extreme music reviews. And today, we come back and we come out the corner swinging. But we come out the corner swinging with a comeback album that came out the corner swinging, but some people wasn't feeling the swing. But I don't care, because I was. And we are talking about Size Matters by Helmet. Let's paint the picture. Let's go ahead and paint the picture. Meantime, it's a success. Interscope is happy, but they want more. They want more from Page & Co., right? So what they end up doing is releasing, to me, the pinnacle of Helmet, right? I love this album with my whole heart, and it is Betty, right? And everybody's feeling it, but again, the sales numbers aren't necessarily reaching what grunge did. And Interscope is kind of having those high sales expectations because in their mind, we're releasing rock music and the kids love rock music. Why isn't it selling? Page is just like, have you heard the album? Have you heard what we do? We're not Nirvana. We're not Stone Temple Pilots. We are not Alice in Chains. We're a little bit different than that. Our sound is way more abrasive. Our sound is way more niche, so to speak, right? And Matt, I'm sorry for my squeaky chair. It's just happy to see you. It's happy to hear from you. And honestly, I'm happy to hear from you too. So if you hear a little bit of squeaking, my bad. But it's not doing what Interscope wants to do, which is the big buku grunge numbers, right? But Page & Co. is not sweating it. Page & Co. aren't really paying attention to that. They're trying to make the music that they want to make. But what ends up happening is you're starting to see a little bit of cracks in the armor, so to speak, right? Because after Betty, which is yet again, I love that album, is Aftertaste, right? So we've already kind of said goodbye to a band member already, which therefore leads the band to actually record this album as a three-piece, right? And John and Henry and Page chunk out Aftertaste. Now, what happens with Aftertaste, right? We get, for the first time, really heavy mixed reviews. And some people just downright not liking the album. But why is that? Page is starting to kind of change his pace, so to speak, when it comes to his songwriting, right? Because he's looking out in the audience, and while he's somewhat grateful for the visceral response to all of his songs that he's getting, kids out there moshing, knocking each other's teeth out, bloody noses, rage is being exercised from their bodies to the tune of a lot of these songs from Helmet. But Page wants something more, and I'm guessing it's the musician in him. I want to invoke multiple types of emotional responses from people. I want people to feel things when they hear Helmet music and not just rage, but other stuff instead. And we get tracks like I Care and Pure and stuff like that. I love Aftertaste, but I understand that some people can kind of be a little bit on the fence because not only is the subject matter kind of changing a little bit, but also the vocal delivery. And we're going to get into that when it comes to Size Matters, because that's a big thing when it comes to this album. And it was going to be a big thing with Helmet moving forward. But Aftertaste, we're starting to see a little bit cracks in the armor because after the recording, they go on tour, but now the band really isn't speaking to each other. You're starting to see a little bit of friction happen within the lineup, happen within the ranks. And after the tour cycle for Aftertaste ends, so does the band. John goes his own separate way. He ends up becoming a DJ somewhere. Henry goes and does a little bit more stuff with music. He starts playing lap steel and all this other great stuff, which, kudos to them. If you really feel like you've run the race and you ran it well when it came to Helmet and you decide to splinter off and do your own thing, just as long as it's done in a tasteful and respectful way, cool, whatever. We understand that bands get together, bands break up. It's like relationships, right? And especially when you're talking about being together for around 10 years. Think about that now. 10 years, you are seeing somebody almost as much, if not more, than your own family. 10 years, you're on the road playing music, which is an intimate thing when you're crafting something and you have something tangible in your hand and you go out there and you present it to the world. It's an intimate thing. And you have that brotherhood. You have that type of thing for 10 years. Maybe at that point, it was time to splinter off and do your own thing. And Page did the same thing. He even starts recording music with a band called Gandhi, which is his own personal thing, right? And what ends up happening is a lot of the songs from Gandhi ends up making their appearance here on Size Matters, right? But Page is also kind of trying to find out, do I want to call it Gandhi? Do I want to call it something else? But Jimmy Iovine is happy. Jimmy Iovine is kind of excited. Why? Because what ends up happening is nu metal is a big thing. Nu metal is a huge thing. And not only are they utilizing some of those more punishing, gnarly, colossal riffs that Helmet was known for during the 90s, but now it's also starting to do this more galloping type of thing when it comes to a lot of their percussion and riff making, right? So Jimmy Iovine is seeing this. He's seeing Deftones make buku money. He is seeing Korn make buku money. He is seeing Limp Bizkit make buku money, all of which can cite Helmet as some type of reference, some type of focal point and how they crafted their sound, right? When he sees Page crafting this new music, he gets excited and says, you know what? You know what you should do? Since we still have the rights to it, call it Helmet. Let's do that. Let's call this new band Helmet. Now, also keep in mind, Page has already reached back out to John and to Henry, seeing if they want to be a part of this, seeing if they want to be a part of this new revival of Helmet. The answer to that question is a resounding no. And that's okay. So with that in the back of Page's mind, okay, well, I've reached out to the guys. They still kind of don't want anything to do with me or do with the project. Okay, Jimmy, I see you. Because in Jimmy's mind, I'm about to make money. In Page's mind, if it gets my new material out there, if it gets this new sound out there, if it gets me to be able to be heard on a larger scale, let's call it Helmet, right? But Page is also honorable because he then says in multiple interviews, this is not the same Helmet. This is a new Helmet. There are going to be some things that you'll recognize so far as the riff making is concerned, so far as the percussion is concerned. There are going to be some things that are recognizable. But at the end of the day, this is a new Helmet. And boy, howdy, is it, right? Whether we're talking about the more simplistic approach to a lot of the way that he writes his songs or his vocal delivery, it's different, but it's somewhat familiar. But mainly it's different. And you're starting to see that he's observing the rock landscape and he's seeing bands like Foo Fighters do well. He is seeing bands like Queen of the Stone Age doing well, right? So what he does is he says, okay, well, if I come in with my old abrasive sound, which don't get me wrong, I like my old sound. I like it, but I want to do something different. I want to have more of an impact on people than just making sure that they have bloody noses, broken ribs, and they've exercised all the rage out of their heads and out of their bodies within the span of the hour-long set that we play live. I want more than that, right? I want more than just when I give you lyrics, it's open to interpretation. No, this album is actually quite focused, and I really do appreciate this album for it. Size Matters is on the heels of that breakup. Size Matters is on the heels of another breakup, not just with the band, but in his personal life, because he was in a relationship with actress Winona Ryder. So, like any good breakup album does, this album kind of takes that heartache, takes that anger, takes that rage, takes that portrayal, takes what he perceives to be lies and deception, and makes it all present here in this album. So in classic Helmet fashion, this album is still kind of angry. Not even kind of angry. This album is very angry, right? This album is very rage-filled and very vengeful. But I appreciate this album because at the end of the day, like I just said before, it feels now like I don't have to go through each one of his lyrics with a microscope or a magnifying glass and interpret, okay, what does he mean when he says this line? Or what does he mean by he means this line? No, the whole tracks, especially when you're talking about tracks like See You Dead and Drug Lord, right? You clearly know he's talking about his relationship with Winona and he's mad about it. He feels portrayed like you've been lying to him and things of that nature. But let's get into the track listing because I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get into the track listing. Let's talk about Smart. Because Smart opens up like a classic. Oh my gosh. It's like here's my classic phrase, right? A big rig with no brakes. Good googly moogly, because the tone of the guitars is huge and it's chunky and it's crusty. And Lord have mercy, that driving percussion line. It's so good. And he talks about a one-night stand, so maybe at this point he's already broken up with Winona. He's trying to get over it. He's trying to make himself feel better. He might go to a party, or he might go to a show, and then he meets a young lady where he thinks she's pretty. I don't need to necessarily know your name. I don't need to know your life goals or your ambitions. I just need to feel better. I know you're probably smart. I know you're probably somebody who does well in this life. That's not pertinent to what we're trying to do right now. Let's just get together. Let's do our thing. Let's feel good in the moment. Let's just feel good in the moment. And then afterwards, we can go our separate ways. I don't need to know who you are. Let's just feel good in this moment. And in the moment, so far as the track is concerned, for all of what, maybe 3.5 going on 4 minutes, you feel freaking good because it feels like classic Helmet, right? Now, it's kind of borrowing a little bit more from maybe, it's like Pure mixed with Wilma's Rainbow, and I really appreciate it for that. It's so good and it's so much fun. And the soaring chorus. I know that your smile, you mentioned it before. It's so good. Oh my God. Good heavens, is it good? And what it does is it sets a precedent. It's like, oh, Helmet's back. Helmet's back, but there is a caveat though. Page's vocals sound different. Drastically different. He's not really barking, so to speak. He's not really like grunting and growling and all this other different things. There's a lot of clean singing. There's a lot of clarity to Page's voice, which is different than anything that he's done in the past with Helmet. And I'm starting to understand that when it comes to some people, the voice as well as a lot of the pop sensibility that comes with this album is a friction point for them because it's not classic Helmet. Now, you do have a lot of syncopated rhythms in there, but then on top of that, there's a lot of stuff that's just straightforward. The drumming in Smart is not really that intricate. It's fairly simple, but it's effective. And it works, and then it leads seamlessly into Crashing Foreign Cars. Now, Crashing Foreign Cars was one of their singles for this album as well, and it was great. It was featured in video games. It charted decently well. It was pretty good. And to me, I still think it's a highlight for this album because can we talk about his chorus writing here? Because a lot of this stuff feels larger than life, right? A lot of the way that he delivers these choruses feels huge, and I love it for it. I love it for it. There's a sucker boy, but boom, and then every other minute, Lord. It's fun, and the thing is, it still feels rage-filled, right? It kind of feels like maybe after an argument with his ex, he got in the car, he can't think straight, the tires screech, smoke bellows out, and he peels out of the driveway, right? Enraged at maybe an argument they just had, or maybe enraged at something that she did or didn't do, said or didn't say. He's not thinking about that right now. It's him in the road, and maybe at some point, maybe he'll crash the car, maybe he'll end it, and then maybe at some point he won't feel the way he feels anymore. But at the end of the day, the track is fast. The track is faster than a Ferrari, and it is rage-filled. It is grunting. It is mad as a new Ford Mustang GT. And I'm telling you right now, it is so much fun. It is so much fun, and it's easy. The melodies are catchy, and they are good so far as the earworms is concerned. Like I said, that chorus, and that's a lot of the things when it comes to this album. The choruses make this album to me. The choruses make this album. The percussion makes this album. But then we get into See You Dead. This is a divisive song. A lot of people don't like the track because they're like, it's a Queen of the Stone Age rip, right? Or the pop sensibilities, like I said before, are very prevalent in See You Dead. But let me tell you something. The staccato riffage and the staccato delivery of his vocals and the fun percussion, that fun, the boom, 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 is so much fun when it comes to this album. And yet again, it leaves you with something. It leaves you with a chorus that you can repeat in your head as the day goes by. It leaves you with a soaring Again, the chorus. It's so good. But I want to go into the lyrics, because the lyrics here goes into, yet again, that breakup, and it's rearing its head in a very plain and easy to see way. So let me get this to you real quick. Let me lay this on you. It says, "At my door, we're together like before." So in his head, whatever fight that they've had has been resolved, or at least he's hoping that it would have been, but it didn't, and she's not at his door. At the end of the day, he said, "I could miss you more right now, or I could slit your throat. Sometimes I get so down you're not around, and I'd rather see you dead." Lord have mercy. That is in the same vein as Kill Bill by SZA. I'm telling you, I kid you not, it's in that same vein. Like, I miss you. I wish you were here, but I'm so mad at you right now that if I saw you laying in the side of the road, I might play taps for you and then peel out. If you're not with me, I don't want you to be with anybody else. It's in that vein of, I'm in the middle of feeling right now. Maybe my emotions don't make sense to a lot of people. Maybe they're not necessarily right or politically correct in the moment, but it's how I feel. It's how I feel. And I love that album. I love this album, but I love this track for that transparency. I really do. It's so good. And then again, so right now this album is giving us banger after banger, and it doesn't stop because it gives us Drug Lord. And it's my favorite track from this album. Again, yes, we get it. There's a lot of clean singing here. There's a lot of singing that's reminiscent of the rock scene at the moment, but it's still uniquely Page. And keep in mind, like I said before, a lot of these tracks were written not necessarily with the traditional Helmet sound in mind. He wanted to do something different, right? And I appreciate this track for it because it's still somewhat Helmet. That riff, it sounds like something that crawled on the B-side from Betty, or maybe even right after Like I Care from Aftertaste. But it's so good. Can I read another lyric to you? Because this is going to drive home where he was mentally as he was writing a lot of the tracks from this album, right? "If I believe you now, then I'm to blame. But I know who you are, so I don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. Start thinking I don't realize it now. I know you're lying. I know you're lying. I know you lie." So at this point, you're gaslighting me. You're gaslighting me into thinking whatever happened to cause this fight is somehow my fault. But as you're gaslighting me, and maybe I'm starting to fall for it, I snap back and I remember everything that you did. And at the end of the day, while you're trying to make it my fault, it's actually not. You're lying. You're lying. And this ain't healthy. This ain't helping. So don't get comfortable. Start thinking and that's what I'm saying. Like, you hear how melodic my voice was? It's not like, anything from any other album that he's done. And I appreciate it for it. It is the change of pace that he's been wanting. It is the change of pace that he's been looking for. Because at this point, any kid or any adult who's going to be at a Helmet show can hear and mosh to the riff of Drug Lord. But when you start to peel back the layers and peel back the anger sonically from the instrumentation, you start looking at his lyrics, there's emotional depth here now. There is a clear anchor in what he's trying to say, and he's crafted. Remember, I called him, in part of my crass language, I called him a shit sculptor for my Meantime review. Now, that crap was the events of his life, and he has sculpted a track and he has sculpted a album around it. Now, there are tracks like Unwound and Enemies. Let's talk about Unwound real quick. It's a Helmet ballad. It is a full-blown early 2000s almost nu metal ballad, or matter of fact, take that back, not even nu metal, a Foo Fighters type ballad sung by Page Hamilton. And I should hate it. I should hate it. I should hate it. But I don't. It's good. It's well written. It's highly catchy. The guitar work here is absolutely great. And is it phenomenal? Not really. But it is so good. And it gets the point across. It's not about the instrumentation or how well he can actually play here. He's not putting too much mustard on it when it comes to a lot of the riffage. It's the emotion. It's how he feels. That's the star of the show here. That's what makes this album good. And for me, I love this album because I can start to feel. I can put my mind somewhere where Pages was as he crafted this album. And I never was able to do that with the Helmet album before. I just felt good. It was just pure adrenaline. But now, here, I can feel, I can see where Page's head was. And I think Size Matter gets a bum rap because, yes, he is kind of keeping some pop sensibilities in here. He is kind of keeping in mind the landscape of rock and metal at the time. Because also, can we be real? Can we address the elephant in the room? Artists got to eat too. You need the radio single. You just do, right? Because that's what put food on the table. That's what pays the mortgage. That's what keeps the freaking lights on. So yes, there are some tracks on here like an Unwound or maybe a Surgery that kind of caters a little bit more towards the larger audience. And I think that's okay, just as long as the track itself is good. And when you're talking about purists, right? Especially people who have spent 10 years with Helmet, they're probably like, what the heck are you doing? Stop it. Why are you reaching for the radio? Well, one, probably to eat. But then two, artists are allowed to grow. Artists are allowed to feel. Artists are allowed to change. The way Helmet was in 1993 won't be the way Helmet would be in 1997. Or, in this case, 2004. Artists change, they go through different cycles, they're human beings, and their art reflects that. And I think Size Matters does that exact thing, right? Now, as the listener, you are welcome to not like the album. I'm also not trying to villainize anybody who hated it, because that's your opinion. But to me, I love this album because it is a shift in mindset. It is a shift in delivery. It is a shift in how he approached songwriting. And for that, bravo. Bravo. I think this album is great. And I think this album deserves another chance. It deserves another chance on your Spotify, your Apple Music, your Tidal, your turntable. It deserves another spin because when you peel back the layers and look at where he was in his personal life, if you peel back the layers and think about where he was in his mindset of wanting to change and be different, to keep things fresh for himself, and to convey to you, the listener, how he feels, Size Matters hits a home run. It does. It is so great. And I highly suggest you guys go check it out again. If you haven't listened to it in a minute, I'll make sure to leave a link below so you can listen to it on iTunes or Apple Music or wherever you like to stream your music. But we are back in it, baby. We are here. Me, my man's Matt the Grat, and as you can see behind me, 50. I got 50 behind me because as Aftershock Reviews continues to move forward, just like Helmet, we want to also kind of like spread our wings and do some other stuff too. I love my metal. Lord have mercy, do I love me some death metal, some death doom, some stoner, all the rest of that stuff. But I also want to cover more genres as well. Y'all know that I will occasionally dip my toe and talk about maybe Isaiah Rashad, or I'll dip my toe and talk about Summer Walker. But I want to do more of that now because my music palette is so wide. I love Randy Travis, dagnabbit. I want to share that with you guys. I love the Backstreet Boys. I want to share that with you guys. I love 50 Cent really got me into hip hop. He really is my gateway. He's the first hip hop album I ever bought with my own money. Get Rich or Die Trying is my first hip hop album ever. And I want to talk to you guys about that. I want to share my music palette as a whole with you guys. And just like any other metalhead, we're not one-dimensional. I've met plenty of metalheads who are jazz lovers. I've met plenty of metalheads who are hip-hop guys. I went to the Full of Hell and Primitive Man show and the Acacia Strain show here in Atlanta when they were all together. And they were playing Flavor in Your Ear by Craig Mack and They Reminisce Over You by Pete Rock and CL Smooth while they were going between sets. I'm like, we're multifaceted, and I want Aftershock Reviews to reflect that as well. So I'm excited to be with you guys. I'm excited to be back here, and I am excited to share with you guys. But until the next review, which will be coming, I'm telling you, there ain't gonna be no more 2-year hiatuses. We are here now. But until then, I am your man's Nic Rattlehead. And behind this camera, somewhere out in California, dealing with me in my squeaky, annoying, angry chair, is my buddy, my pal, my compadre, my amigo. Tell him one more time, what's your name? Matt the Graff. Matt the Graff. Wash your hands, support your bands. Peace. How you do that?